To China, this is terrorism. The most traitorous challenge it's faced in decades. Hong Kongers in open revolt are accusing Beijing of breaking its promises and blocking its ears. The battles that have taken Hong Kong to the brink are all about preserving the freedoms guaranteed in the one country, two systems deal China made with Britain before the Union Jack was lowered here 22 years ago. Now, the woman who was Hong Kong's most senior civil servant, chief secretary under both British and Chinese sovereignty, says it's time Britain stood up and spoke out in defense of its former colony. Failure to do so, she warns, will have global consequences.
Britain must continue to make China deliver on its promises, which it is not at the moment. Britain has a particular moral and legal responsibility towards ensuring that one country, two systems is faithfully implemented as the co-signatory to the joint declaration. It is in everyone's interest that China keeps to its word, because if it walks all over one country, two systems in Hong Kong, then Britain and the rest of the world should be asking themselves, can we continue to trust the word of China on any international treaty obligations?
So what would you want Prime Minister Boris Johnson to say?
I want him to take a firm stance towards defending one country, two systems.
Tonight, protesters here demanded that Britain declare China in breach of their joint declaration, a binding international treaty. Since he's become PM, Mr. Johnson has said nothing publicly about what's happening here. China yesterday protested against foreign interference and pointedly warned that Hong Kong was part of the British Empire no longer. It's 2 years now since Carrie Lam, Hong Kong's unloved leader, was sworn in by China's President Xi Jinping. She was chosen not by the people, but by a pro-Beijing committee from 3 candidates selected by Beijing.
None of which.
Anson Chan has challenged Carrie Lam to show herself worthy of the trust that's been placed in her.
Has she?
No, she has not. I think she desperately wants to do the right thing, except that at the moment she is not showing much sign that she appreciates what the right thing is. I think it has a great deal to do with the character of Carrie. She can't bring herself round to admitting that she was wrong in the first place by introducing these extradition proposals.
That's what started all this, a proposed law enabling China to extradite criminal suspects to the mainland for trial, where the courts had a 99.9% conviction rate last year. Opposition to this brought more than 2 million onto the streets. But although she's declared the bill dead, Chief Executive Carrie Lam refuses to permanently kill it off.
What the chief executive needs to realize, and Beijing officials need to realize, is you need to engage and you need to have a dialogue with the protesters. Threats, and posturing will not work with this generation of Hong Kong people.
In recent days, the threats have reached a new level of intensity, with Chinese state TV showing thousands of paramilitary police on exercise just over the border.
I fear that we are fast approaching a point of no return. Nobody wants to see that. I think the position is still salvageable, which is you engage the protesters, you offer to talk about these public demands. For as long as people cannot go to the ballot box to choose their own leaders, you leave our younger generation no other choice but to take to the streets to make their voices heard. In a way, Beijing should realize, why is it that today, 22 years after the handover, every sector of the community is up in arms? So is this government listening?
Dame Anson Chan's unanswered question will hang heavy over Hong Kong this weekend, with more protest predicted, more violence likely.